And why? Because they felt that this guy was trying to use them and to think that money could buy everything and anything that he needed. So they refused. Guy was so humbled and he had to go down and ask for forgiveness so that the work could continue. He had the money, but the people were not willing to be paid to be able to do that, because where we come from, you are not paid to dig a grave. This was a challenge to the man, and he said, yes, I have money, but I needed something more than money. And that is why I'm asking us, whom do you have? And you need someone because of many reasons, but I will summarize that in a few. You need a man for company. Mark 3, verse 14. There are two reasons that Jesus chose the 12 disciples. One, and critical, was that they may be with him. The Bible says he chose them so that they may accompany him, so that they may be with him. A journey becomes lighter when you walk, several of you. And indeed, as has been said, if you want to go faster, go alone. But if you want to go far, then you need company. And so that was critical. But the second reason, obviously, that Jesus chose the 12 was so that he could be able to send them. And so remember, the reason for company comes before the reason for sending. Secondly, you need a man for support. Job 2:13. Job's friends were there for him to provide support. In silence, they sat with him for 7 days just to encourage him. Sometimes you don't need words to demonstrate support, just that presence. You don't need to utter any words to fill a void, because sometimes we're intimidated by that void, but silence. But sometimes that presence is all that is needed, even if you don't say anything. So in silence, they just stayed with him. And so you need a man for support. But three, you need a man for ideas, dear brothers and sisters. Mark 2:4. There is a gentleman who was paralyzed, and the friends, he had 4 friends. When these 4 friends heard that Jesus was in the village, they carried the man so that he could be healed. But imagine, it was not possible because of the traffic. What did the men do? Because they seemed to have come to the dead end. There were several barriers and bottlenecks, but they conceived an idea. They said, let us remove the roof. That was a brilliant idea indeed. And it worked. They got the man to Jesus through the roof. And so you need a man for ideas. You do not know everything. You need someone to be able to enrich your ideas. But last but not least, you need a man to spread the risk. That very same verse that we have read, remember, these guys removed the roof. It was a risky affair. The owner of the house could have sued him for them for damages. There were men, however, to stand out for the paralytic man. They were men to take up the bullet for him. They were men to provide the explanations. Dear brothers and sisters, the big question I want to present to us is, whom do you have? Indeed, I know that when you have Jesus, that fills everything. But there is a place in this life you need to identify with somebody. It's Apostle Selman who said, if in your life you don't have a man you can call at midnight, and when you call him, the man can leave the sleep of the night and the family and say, my brother, I'm going to be with you in a minute, then you are a person to be sympathized with. You need a man. Thank you very much, my dear brothers and sisters. I want to believe that that devotion has inspired you. Shall we pray? Father, we are grateful to you because of the opportunity you've given us today, even to be able to learn from one another. We thank you for the opportunity, dear loving Father, because you are the source of all knowledge, and no one taught like you. And so we wait upon you, Lord, even as we go through this session today. Thank you for my brother. Thank you for my sister. Thank you for everyone who is in this forum this day. May you bless them. I thank you that their time here will not be wasted. It shall be found to have been used in a good way. We thank you. We exalt you for everyone that will be presenting or saying anything. Lord, may you inspire them and may you bless them because you are our God. We begin with you, and at the end of it all, may you be glorified because we have prayed in Jesus' name. And we all say amen and amen.
Amen.
So allow me therefore now to invite our head of department. She's going to do an introductory remark, and then welcome our dean to do a welcome remark. Dr. Susan Wandera, unless there is a DVC or someone else hired there, I think the dean will be able to see how to manage that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Namai, for that great devotion. Indeed, we know whom we know. Welcome, great people. We are greatly honored to be here as the School of Education. The members of education are here. We will hear and see each one of them as facilitators in this session. In the interest of time, I just want to invite our Dean, Professor Dr. Moniwe Kesa, our pioneering Dean, School of Education, to give just very brief remarks, and we get into the business of the day. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wandera, for those kind words. Colleagues, we at the School of Education like to spread what Dr. Namai calls the risk, but in this case, it's not a bad risk. Like to share the knowledge that we have regarding teaching, assessment, and improvement of learning with colleagues in the entire university. So this is one of those seminars. We shall continue holding several of them, like colleagues to feel comfortable when they walk into a classroom. We would like colleagues to know how to plan their work, like colleagues to know how to handle a class. We would like colleagues to know how to carry out meaningful assessments of what they have taught. And then we have a new thing coming to us, and this is one that is called competency-based education. The approach taken at lower levels, that is in the PP1, PP2, lower primary, junior secondary, and even when they get to senior, is totally different from the way we have been doing things. Let me mention that the first cohort of the CBE will come to us in 2029. But then before we get there, we need to be ready for them. It is in this respect, it is partly in this respect that we have decided to hold a series of these seminars as a way of preparing ourselves, in addition to tooling ourselves for what we are expected to be doing. So I want to welcome each and every one of you that has joined in this particular seminar. I want to pray that you listen keenly, prepare your questions, ask them, let's get answers. And I also want to say that as this one starts off, please note the members of the School of Education so that when you meet them on the highways and byways of Daystar, you can still continue interacting with them. quite a number will be participating here. 2 of them have already spoken. And so you will get to see and know them. I also want to pray that whoever has an opportunity to speak, kindly put on your camera so that we familiarize ourselves with one another. I want to say once again that welcome to this seminar and please enjoy yourselves. At this juncture, let me welcome Namai to kick us off. Dr. Namai.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dean. I really, really appreciate your leadership. May God bless you. And colleagues, I want also to appreciate you for being here and for trusting us. I just want to share with us how the program would look like. And I believe you're able to see. We have already covered the devotion. We have already had introductions from Dr. Wandera and welcome remarks from Professor Moni. We're going to do an overview of CBE and then we'll have that flow in that manner. We do not have enough time to do everything that we would want to do, but I believe that we will be able to benefit from this one and give you an appetite to be able to want some more. So as a way of introduction, let me just ask us to watch this.
I think, did you want it to go sound, Dr. Namai? You'll have to share sound. You have to share on the laptop. You have to share.
You're saying something, Dr.
I'm saying, Dr. Namai.
Doesn't have sound.
Dr. Namai doesn't have sound.
Oh, sorry. How come? And I'm hearing myself here. It's okay. Let's then defer that. We will come back to that so that we save time. There are, I think, two of those that I wanted to share, but I will not now share because of the time aspect. Okay. Now, are you seeing the slide? Yes, I want to give us an overview of the competency-based education in Kenya. And these are the intended learning outcomes. I know my colleagues will have a detailed learning outcomes in their areas, but this one covers entirely the whole of our session this afternoon, because we want you to appreciate the curriculum reform efforts in Kenya and be able to explain how the competence-based education differs from the traditional education system and describe the 21st century pedagogies and determine the competence-based assessment strategies. Number 5 may not be completed because that may be an engagement of another time where we can be able to create a course outline that aligns to competence-based education. Dr. Cherui, please watch the time for me. I don't need to go for more than the time we've agreed so that you can just let me know. Okay. So there is a history in terms of curriculum reforms in Kenya, but since you are not a student of history, I don't want to take you through all this, but I want to bring us to the 1981 Presidential Working Party on the establishment of the second university, which is the one that brought forth the 844 system. Professor McKay had been asked to propose to the president how a second university will be created but in so doing, also recommended a change of the system. I think he felt that with the system that was there, we will not have enough students to join the second university, and so he proposed this the 844. Now, the 844 came in, and I don't think there was much preparation in as far as the implementation was concerned. However, when it comes to the competency-based education, because in 2012, there is a task force on the realignment of education sector to the constitution that was chaired by Professor Douglas Odhiambo. There was serious work that was done. So sometimes you hear people say, you know, this one came and there was no thinking about it. But I think the competency-based education is one that received serious thinking through before it came to pass. But obviously, we've had challenges with the implementation thereof. There have been revisions also. With the report of the Presidential Working Party on Education Reforms that was chaired by Munavu to reduce even the learning areas because there were so many, and that has been done. So, as I've said, there have been all those, and the sessional paper recommended those reforms. And why did it, by the way, come through? It is because the 844 was considered to promote rote learning. There was a lot of memorization. But the focus was that we should have a holistic and integrated way of learning. And so the recommendation for competency-based curriculum, so that the learners are engaged, they are empowered, and they are ethical citizens. We know the strength of CBE in terms of focusing on the learner, issues of competencies. What can I do instead of what do I know? You know, opportunities for local decision making and flexibility, especially for the teacher, for the lecturer. But there is you are not tied into a hole and you cannot turn. And then the balance between formative and summative, I think that has also been a challenge previously. That's why at the end of every year, you will see people or schools with buses running around the road showing how well they have performed. And that was considered not to be the right one. And then the issues of digital-based collaboration and co-development and synchronous development, replacing the sequential development. For those who have not, I don't want to assume that we all have had an opportunity to connect. No one is telling me to do a slideshow. I don't want to assume that we have all had an opportunity to connect with the Organization of Basic Education in Kenya. This is how it is. Remember, on your far right, there is what we are calling the stage-based education. So the CBE allows both the stage-based and the age-based education progression. So if you're going with the age, you will move from primary to lower primary to upper primary to lower secondary. And then after lower secondary, where we are today, because we are 9 years, we move to our paths in the senior secondary. We have the arts and sports science, we have social sciences, and we have the science, technology, and engineering and mathematics. Now, from there, now you go to the university. But also we have learners who are challenged. They are special in one way or the other. There is a possibility that a learner may start at the foundation and intermediate level, but in the course of time, because in most of the schools, these schools, public schools, these special units are tied, they are together with the regular schools. So in the course of time, and that's why we have these arrows here, you find that a learner is stage-based, yes, but gets to a level and can manage the age-based content. And so they will be able to move here and go on. But if they do not do so, we will not dismiss them. They will move on to pre-vocational skills and get to vocational skills, and they get to the world of work. One of the things I think through our study that Professor Dr. Moni was trying to guide us through is to have these guys also acquire certification so that they are able to say, yes, I have a diploma, I have this, as much as it is at the vocational level. So what are the guiding principles? Opportunity, excellence, diversity, and inclusion. Okay, the CBE believes that everybody should have an opportunity, and every learner has the capacity to excel. But also, we should not leave any learner behind. You know, whether they are special or no, they must all be able to move. Differentiated curriculum, where we are saying that we don't teach all learners the same because they are different. Each learner should be taught based on their strength, based on where they are at. The issue of parental engagement and empowerment is also strong in CBE and community service learning. And these are the core competencies: communication and collaboration, self-efficacy, critical thinking and problem solving, creativity and imagination, citizenship, digital literacy, and learning to learn. There are also values from at the education department. I don't know about the other schools and departments. We have been trying to inculcate this in the learner, and very deliberately, so that when we are even engaging in the learning experiences, we are able to say that today we will be encouraging these learners to be able to care and have compassion one for the other.
We can't hear.
What is happening?
No, it's just okay. They're the ones who don't have.
Okay. Thank you. Now we have recommendations for university teaching in the context of CBE, the issues of facilities and equipment, the issues of competence enhancement for learners, the issues of the lecturer being a mentor and a coach and not a teacher, as in the traditional way. Now, I have put a lot of question marks on involvement of parents because we would really want to think about that. Do you consider this is all the adults? They don't need involvement. Whom do we therefore think of involved? Because we must also not just borrow blindly what is happening at the preschool or the basic level and transfer it. The issue of values, I think at Daystar we have no problem with that because we're already having that. But diversifying teaching and learning and assessment approaches, that is critical. And community service learning. This one, we have already captured this in our program. So that is what I wanted to say in as far as the overview. I'm sorry, I had to rush a bit because of time. In terms of the overview, so that we have a picture, a rough picture of what this is all about. And we are doing this, ladies and gentlemen, because as these students join us in 2029, they are not just coming to education, my dear brothers and sisters. They are coming to science. They are coming to law. They are coming, and that's why this program, we are rolling it across the university so that we are all at the same place when it comes to managing and ministering to these learners. Otherwise, thank you very much. I know we will have greater engagements at the end of this. I know if you have any question, I'll just invite my colleagues. We'll start with Dr. Sitati, and then Dr. Wandera, and finish with Dr. Cherui before Dr. Wainaina comes for the question and answer session. But now that I am freer, I will now be managing time. So any one of the presenters, I've just tried to be able to redeem the time so that we are on schedule. So Dr. Sitati, please, this is your time. You're welcome.
Thank you so much. You can hear me. We have swapped with Dr. Stati. You can hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I say we have swapped with Dr. Stati because I am doing like an intro to what she will go through. And yes, we are doing this live from Embu University. We are in one of the lecture halls in Embu University. It shows how much we have gone, is it global or national? Yeah, so I will go very fast and swift to my presentation in the interest of time, because I'm also near the mountain. I'm not used to being very near the mountain. Time is going to be of essence. I'm going to do an intro of pedagogical design. I can call it instructional design for higher education. And I will concentrate on 4 theories, and then Dr. Stati will pick from there, and she will continue with now the pedagogical, the methods. And before I start, I want to start with a saying.
Can you put it in the slide form? Can you show in the slide form presentation?
Yeah, Dr. Susan Wandera, you could kindly help put it in the presentation mode.
You can hear.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry for that. Allow me to also reduce this.
And just to ask the co-host, you have a right to admit someone in the room so that I'm not the only one admitting. That's why I've co-hosted you.
I have been admitting. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I have said I will go through the... Sorry. There is. Sorry. I don't know what's happening. I'm trying to reduce this size. Where am I? This is the problem of being near the mountain.
The mountain has done nothing.
Don't touch the mountain.
Excuse me. Where am I? I don't know what has happened to the screen and the technology.
You have taken a notation. What you need to do, go on your left, you'll see a notation, a bar, notation bar, just click X down there. Or can you stop sharing? Let me make it easier for you. And then start off well.
Where is the X?
Okay, just stop sharing and restart. Okay.
Thank you.
Restart, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you put in the slide.
The same thing. Just a minute.
So as Dr. Stati is putting up, welcome everyone. I know we've just reminded most of you in the forum in the university that it's happening now. As you come in, this is a pedagogical seminar by School of Education on D4D, on how to delight your students in class using strategies that are currently working in the world, and this is especially around the competence-based education. And this is where we are at the moment as a school and as a university. Actually, it is a movement. D4D is a movement, just like the way we began PBL. Now combining PBL and D4D tells us that this is actually a movement where the university is delighting your student, delighting yourself, delighting your core faculty members, and also using the problem-based learning to achieve most out of the students. So this is the first workshop that the School of Education is giving us in terms of establishment of a school. And we welcome all the faculty members. Would like to ask your colleagues to start also joining in, so that as we do this together, we would be able to learn together. We acknowledge all the schools that are represented here in terms of in terms of faculty members, and it's an open, joining. So welcome, most of you. If you have any question, they have different people who are taking up the notes and questions. Please post there. And anything around PBL and the strategies of teaching vis-a-vis delighting your students. Most of us are also students in our own way. So basically that. James Mbui is also there to collect also, is that school administrator. And he definitely will be helping us as to take also notes. And also we have one of the faculty members, I guess, Isabella, Dr. Isabella. And as they are also, I would wish to have the School of Education faculty put on your video so that we can spotlight who you are and add your spotlight. So I would request all of us to be able to spotlight our face. So here is, I'll add Dr. Joab Namais there. The Dean is there. The Dean is there, as you can see. So I'm spotlighting them so that you can see who they are.
Dr. Marcus, spotlight yourself also. We need to see her.
Yes, I would definitely. Isabella, you are new for us. By the way, Dr. Isabella, I would love to see your face. So there she is. I think Dr. Sitati and Dr. Wandera, if you can remove what you're showcasing, you're showing your whole computer, get what you want, close everything on your laptop, close anything, only have what you want to share. Only what you want to share on your laptop, remove everything else on your laptop and close it completely. It will help you. So I would encourage you stop sharing, close everything on your laptop and have only the PowerPoint remaining. It will make it easier for you. Yeah, so
Okay, thank you.
You are sharing nothing. That's why I'm saying you can stop sharing. Okay, then
Wainaina, we can't see your face clearly. We are seeing more of the sky or the ceiling.
Can Dr. Wandera, can you stop sharing everything? Just stop sharing everything. Yes, like that. Then now, just open the laptop and have. That is Dr. Isabella Wainaina. I'm told she was the former principal. Loreto girls, can you tell us who you are?
Thank you very much. I am Dr. Isabella Wainaina. It is true, I have a rich background of leadership of schools. It's true, I was in Loreto Matunda, then I went to St. Mary's Girls High School, Igoji in Meru, before I came to Daystar.
When were you the principal there? They could be having alumni here looking at you and thinking, she was already retired. Yes, they retire at a very young age and they still look like they are. Yeah, so
we are redefining retirement.
Yes, that is Dr. Isabella. And yes, the PowerPoint is on. You can now, yes, from the beginning. So that is Isabella. You'll be knowing her more. Dr. Isabella, she has a PhD in, is in educational planning and management?
Educational management.
Yes. So you will be knowing her more. And of course, other facilitators, Dr. Regis Cherui, I think she's one representing the school in Finland, this particular trip that we have PBL. So you can see his face there. Dr. Wandera, if you're ready, let us know.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, sorry for that confusion there. Yes, I'm going to look at the theoretical frameworks that we are applying in the competency-based education. And I said just before the interruption that I'll start with just some kind of a saying that the value of education is not learning of many facts, but the training of the mind to think something that cannot be learned from textbooks. This is a saying by Albert Einstein, and we are in that space as a higher learning institution where we are seeing the value of education, not in the learning of the many facts, but the training of the mind to think something that cannot be learned in books. And I believe in our own small ways, that is one of the things we are going to start embracing. I want to very fast and very briefly go through the theories that we are shifting, that we are moving dynamically through as we are implementers of CBE. A number of us who are educationists are aware of these theories. For example, we have the behaviorism theory. And when you look at the behaviorism theory, it really looks at the observable behavior. When we talk about observable behavior is where the facilitator or the teacher focuses on individual interactions with the environment. It means, therefore, as educators and facilitators of the higher learning institution, our understanding of this theory and what it focuses on enables us to make a choice of the most relevant and favorable approach that is relevant, especially when we want to delight our students. We have said that we are focusing on design for delight. How are we designing our learning so that our environment, the observable behaviors, the influence of the environment on the behavior of the learner is one that encourages learning in a manner that everyone is motivated? So one of these great theories is the behaviorism. And we have saying that learning is occurring through observable behaviors and manipulation of the environment. And when we look, when Dr. Stati will present the pedagogies, I believe she will do a connectivity so that we are able to see which of the learning methods then is actually addressing this behaviorism focus. And when you think about it, you can think about the reinforcement and the punishment. It comes in through that. How does environment enable us to have this understanding? And remember, we are saying not what we have learned on books, but how we are able to generate and be pursuant of knowledge in a manner that motivates the 21st century learner, that delights the learner. And in this one, maybe now I can talk about the scaffolding, where we are able to provide support to students as they develop their new skills or understanding. We are able to gradually remove the support as students become more independent. And the initial stage in scaffolding, there's still an elaboration of the behaviorism theory, is providing the learners with partially completed tasks or outlines that they need to fill in during lectures. And I believe because we are preparing to start our teaching in the next 1 week, this is already what we are doing. This is part of our preparation. And at the later stage, gradually reducing the amount of information provided, so that we are able to encourage the students to take more comprehensive work on their own. And then modeling, that we are able to bring up, we are able to be in an environment where we show or we give a demonstration of a process that may be complex or a situation that requires a problem-solving technique, and we are able to do an explanation of the thinking. And that is working out loud, later, less direct guidance. Now, this creates an environment where the learners are able to enjoy not necessarily the environment, but the learning. They are able to feel delighted. And in this behaviorism theory, the strategies that match the instruction of vis-a-vis the pedagogy is one of reinforcement. Are we able to create a positive reinforcement environment in our teaching, in our facilitation. How do we do that? Handshake. Sometimes we make fun of handshake, but we can use handshakes to motivate learners and to make our environment very delightful. Some students may not have experienced a handshake anywhere. When you create that environment, they get excited, giving praises, giving them grants that delight, although the ones they have worked for, that one is in quotes, I should have put it in quotes, and to encourage the desired behavior. Giving immediate feedback, instant feedback. The learners are able to note that their environment, sometimes we give assignments, then we give feedback at the end of the semester. That is not a positive reinforcement in the learning process. And in delighting the learners, that kind of a reinforcement is not a delight. It is the opposite. The design is the opposite of a delight. Immediate feedback actually is a very delightful way of interacting with the learners. I don't want to say much about technology integration using this drill and practice software and online quizzes, because we know what it means to have those interactive sessions. The quizzes, it is a reinforcement. And therefore, when you look at the behavioral sim theory, it is really what kind of environment.
Yes, we've lost you.
You are also delighted and learning becomes interesting. You can hear me? Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you.
Wow.
We can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm saying that it deals with the situation where we are able to create a delightful environment to both the facilitator and the learner by the instruction, by our interaction, and by our assessment. And I know my colleagues, when they come in, they will be touching on this, because these theories cut across the planning, the implementation, right from the preparation to the assessment. And that is the first one I just want to mention. The other one is the cognitive sim. And I know this one, we understand what is this theory, because our education, the 21st century learning, has been majorly focusing on the cognitive domain, which is derived from this theory of cognitivism. The emphasis here is on the role of internal mental process, an understanding of how people learn. How do we learn? And because of the overemphasis of the content, remembering the cognitivism theory has actually faced a few or quite some schools of thought feel that learning is not purely an issue of the mental process. An understanding of how we learn, an understanding that focuses on how information is received, how information is organized, how information is stored, and how information is retrieved in the assessment. It's a very linear way of understanding. And cognitivism actually recognizes learners as active in the learning process. Active in the learning process. And when you look at the mental process in the learning, this is basically what it means. One element is the chunking. And I'll not spend much time, because this is one of the theories we really understand. Chunking, where as facilitators, we break information into smaller, manageable chunks to enhance comprehension and retention. How do we delight? How do we design this cognitive so that the learner is delighted And even we as the facilitators become very delighted in the process of facilitating knowledge or giving information. How do we break our information? How do we ensure that we are enhancing comprehension and retention in this 21st century where we are dealing with very fast running learners? The learner of 2025 is very different from the learner of 1985. You could break for them information into smaller chunks, manageable ones, and even when the information is not correct, because you are the teacher, traditional, they would take it as gospel truth. But now we are moving away from there. How are you using your outlines now? Because this is where now the rubber meets the tarmac. How organized are we so that we can delight our learners of 21st century when they come in the next 1 week? Do we ensure that we modify our outlines? Are we using the yellow note, the same knowledge of 2020 before COVID? What outline are we using? What are the summary notes we have? What concept maps are we using to help the learners process information? Because the processing machine of the learner today, according to this cognition, is a bit different from the cognition of the knowledge or the processing of the knowledge in the past years. And when you look at the cognition, which actually is focusing on the mental processes of the brain of how the learners think, we cannot separate it from metacognition. We need to understand cognition and metacognition. So that we are looking at cognition as the mental process involved in the acquisition and the processing of the knowledge. We should think more now about the metacognition. That is the learners. What kind of understanding are they having in the cognitive process? So it is a blend of the cognition and the metacognition so that there is a reflection on one's knowledge and the various strategies. And that's why I've given a cognitive instructional design, still on that aspect of scaffolding, theories of learning, that here you provide support structures to assist learners in moving towards stronger understanding. Now here, we remind ourselves of Bloom's taxonomy, because we cannot talk about the cognitive theory without talking about Bloom's taxonomy. But note that in the CBE and in delighting the learners, we are talking about the Bloom's taxonomy in the reverse, so that now we are starting with creating at the lower level, not the knowledge base. How do you enable your learners to create knowledge? Not to receive, but to create. So that now the base of the knowledge becomes the narrow one. Because once they have the creation of the knowledge, you are able to make them come narrowing the pyramid in the reverse. And that's why we say that when you look at the Bloom's taxonomy, we are looking at it in the reversed form. Maybe next time I will talk more about that when we have more time about understanding the designs. And what the essence? The purpose is actually to facilitate student learning and mastery of breaking down complex tasks into manageable parts. What is our progression of knowledge? Our progression of knowledge, so that you are able to break down anything that looks complex. You make it to become manageable parts. If the 21st century learner does not enjoy the small bits, there is no delight in learning. There is no delight in learning. So we have to design our content, because this is really content. We have to design our content in a way that we not only do we showcase our mastery of the knowledge, but we are able to showcase that we are able to break down the complex tasks into manageable parts so that the 21st century learner can enjoy the learning process, because that is why design for delight is critical. Now in the delivery, how do we ensure that we are not the 21st century teacher who comes and says, I've given you that work, you must do it. They say it is difficult. You say, no, it is not difficult. That is why you are in the university, to learn these difficult things. How do you ensure that they break it? You are able to enable them break into those manageable chunks. I spoke about chunks. And of course, I may not say much about the cognitive instructional design in terms of the technology integration, because this is now the use of the learning management systems, where we have very structured content, digital mind maps, and very practical ongoing assessment, quizzes, class activities, takeaway assignment, immediate feedback. This is when it is online, all these go hand to hand. They are, that's synchronous, they take place at the same time. And this is how we encourage students to be problem solvers, because they are able to reflect on what is the problem. And the application of the PBL, maybe Dr. Stati will talk about that now, to show the interlinkage of the theories with the learning methods, that we are able to encourage the learners to reflect on their learning journey. We are able to enable them identify the areas where they are able to say with confidence, I need some help there. We are able to enable the student adapt with that immediate feedback. And we are able to ensure we have a performance data, we have a performance progress record, where we are able to know what is the status of every learner whom we teach in terms of the content that we are delivering. So you can see we have looked at the environment, good environment that is delightful, and we have looked at the content, which is very critical, but that content of the cognitive, now in the third one, and the last theory, which I will talk about, we have many, but these are the most common, is where we develop the skills and the competencies. Because remember, the cognitive has concentrated more on the content. How do we ensure that the content is designed in a manner that delights the learner? How do we ensure that we deliver the content in a manner that delights the learner? And how do we ensure that the environment of learning behaviorism is promoting a delight of our learners? So that when now we come to the constructivism, now we are moving from this mentor, we are making the learners construct. The school of thought, or the proponent of this theory, which is the theory that highly is the anchor of CBE, constructivism is actually the anchor of CBE, where you now give the learners the latitude. I said earlier that when you think about the 19th century teacher who was dominant, content focused, subject focused, assessment focused, and never wrong, the 21st century learner, for them to be delightful, for you to delight them, you must now give them the latitude of constructing their own understanding of the knowledge you are giving them. And that's why I started with that saying that the value of education is not learning of many facts, but the training of the mind to think, something that cannot be learned in books. Now, the constructivist proponents are encouraging the learners to think about something that cannot be learned in the books, something that cannot be found in the books, that we are encouraging the learners to actively construct their own understanding and knowledge of the world around them.
Dr. I know
this
we
one now
interrupted you.
relates very closely with our PBL, learner-centeredness, exploration of the emotional, the spirit.
Okay, we have exceeded by 12
saying
minutes, but I know we had an interruption.
Now
Just
we
try.
have Emma.
Just try to summarize here.
Okay. It is well, Dr. Stat will donate 5, then she will do with 5 minutes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I am saying that when you look at the constructivism, this is where we are allowing the learners to not only construct the knowledge, but understand the world around them and solve their problems. And this is closely connected to social constructivism, which is the social interactions, the projects that facilitate the learners to think, and ultimately learning becoming a process of connecting the dots, specialized knowns, or the various information sources. And there are several other designs. I would have wished to talk about them. In the interest of time, we are sorry. We will share this because we know how to read. Then we will be discussing them as we move along. There are some designs of teaching I would have wished to bring out, like the ADE design, the SAM design, and actually the revised Bloom's taxonomy, but this we will do at a later stage after Dr. Stati has actually presented her course. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Wandera. We really appreciate it. So we invite Dr. Sitati to pick up, please.
All right, thank you. Always try use emojis to appreciate your facilitators so that they're encouraged. Yeah, so that they're encouraged. And School of Education, we encourage most of you to ensure that remove everything on the laptop, makes it easier for you to start off. So I'll be putting a timer there for you to help, as you know that you can always also check on your timer.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so yes, greetings from all over here, and we hope that School of who is next? I think that should be Dr. Sitati. You come in so that you can be able to, yes, some good work there, some responses from there, and as they're preparing, just know that we're in a moment of D4D, and I know the director for D4D is here. How do we delight our customer? Our customer is ourselves plus other people, our students in this case, faculty members and the rest of your team in class. How do you go? Everything around pedagogy has not just to do with learning, even the way we dress, the way we communicate, the way we present ourselves. That is delighting, designing for delight. Very important. And even when we are coming to prepare our PowerPoints, we ensure that they are delighting. When we are coming to present, Dr. Stati, the time started a long time ago, so let me know so that we can come in.
Hello.
Yes, you can raise your voice. Nice. Your PowerPoint is well on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but now the voice looks like it's actually literally below, when you are starting to climb the mountain, on top of the mountain. Testing.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead, but raise your voice, please, facilitator.
Yeah, I'm in somebody's house, and when you are in a guest somewhere, you don't really shout, but I hope we are going to communicate. You'll be able to hear me. Colleagues, good afternoon. Yeah, thank you so much for being here and for having us share these experiences in terms of just understanding where we are and what we need to do. Yes, I'm sharing Dr. Wandera's laptop. Mine had an issue, so she graciously agreed to share with me, and I have to seek her assistance in terms of, operating and getting to some other sections of the laptop. So if you don't see my face, I'm available. Yes, so I think I'm there now. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dean, for just also having us here. Thank you, Dr. Mwaka, and the rest of the team. We are really delighted to have you here. So we want to continue this conversation of a competency-based curriculum in the light of design for delight. Now, we've been in Embu for 3 days, and I want to tell you that the world is moving very fast in terms of changing the way in which we've been doing things. And so it's a high time that we look at instruction differently from the way we've been looking at it. And so I want to share on just understanding pedagogy and how it is going to impact on us in terms of delivering our content to the learners. It is said that in a few years' time, we are going to have the CBC graduates coming to the university. And it is very, very good because now we are preparing for them. It's not like the 844 system where they just got us by surprise and got into the universities and all of us were confused. But now we are preparing for them. So these fellas have been going through specific experiences in terms of instructional strategies. And so at our level, we need to understand how are we going to handle them when they come our way. And so the first thing I want us to understand pedagogy. I attended a session here with a group of civil society, and we were looking at pedagogy in primary school. And somehow, many of them could not understand pedagogy. And they were asked, how do you enhance pedagogical skills within your school? And one of the teachers said that I allow lady teachers to teach sciences as opposed to just teaching English. I found it very absurd, and I had to stand up and demystify this concept of pedagogy. So we need to understand it. What is pedagogy? We are looking at procedures, methods, and approaches that teachers use to facilitate, or simply learning so that the learners can develop or enhance different competencies. I think my colleagues have mentioned about competencies. So we want to see, how do we enhance these competencies? What experiences do we take our learners through for them to, understand and get these competencies? So understanding and enhancing their competencies will go beyond just knowledge. I remember when we were in the university, the lecturer would come and just talk, after that he goes. But now we are looking at it from a different lens. We want to ensure that our learners are able to acquire skills, values, and attitudes that are very, very important in terms of them being integrated into their societies. Now, the key features of pedagogy, and especially in the light of CBC, number one, it must be learner-centered. We are shifting from the teacher being the know-it-all to the learners helping in generation of knowledge. Number two, the teacher becomes just a facilitator. So the teacher will only guide the learners to generate knowledge and not just bombard them with a lot of knowledge. Then we are also considering experimental and contextual feature of these experiences, where learning is rooted in practical experiences. And we understand that these learners, they go through different experiences on a day-to-day basis. And so how do they apply these practical experiences in our classroom? What kind of experiences do we take them through so that they can apply their own experiences in solving those problems? We also need to look at the context under which we are interacting with them. We are exposing them to different materials. In what context can we put them in such a way that they're able to make the best out of it? And then we also look at inquiry-based, where learners are supposed to ask questions, investigate, and solve problems. And many facilitators may not be very, very happy with this feature, because they feel they know it all, and learners should not even ask questions. They should just do what they are told to do. But this is a time when we need to allow them to ask questions, delight in making their own investigations, and coming up with solutions to problems. And these problems are within their classroom, within their society, within their communities. So they'll be able to identify problems and propose solutions to these problems. Then the other key feature is the assessment part, where we are looking at it from a formative point of view, that we need to give continuous feedback to support their growth in the academy and not just grading them. So we are moving away from just, giving them exams at the end of the semester, but we want to assess them at every stage. After every course or after every topic, we want to assess them, and we also want to vary out the way we assess them, so that we are not restricted to just making them reproduce what you have taught them. Then we want to integrate values and soft skills, which are very important in the 21st century era. 21st century era requires that these soft skills be applied by the learners, and therefore we should help them, enhance them in terms of communication, in terms of critical thinking. Emotional intelligence has become the real thing, so that the learners should also understand themselves. When they understand themselves, they'll also understand the instructors. They'll be able to cooperate in terms of generating knowledge. Now, as we look at pedagogy, we want to understand what is it that the instructor needs to do to ensure that the learners delight in their learning. And so we look at pedagogy as the engine of competency-based curriculum. And here we are not running away from CBE. We really need to embrace it. We look at the strategies that shape the learner's outcome. And so that when these strategies are applied in the right way, the learners will enjoy their learning. The learners will be delighted to come to a class on time. They'll be delighted to interact with you, ask questions, and they'll be delighted to work in groups and produce more knowledge, to create more knowledge, solve problems. And so CPC will also require active, inclusive, and flexible strategies so that we are not aligned to one strategy. As instructors, we need to be more flexible so that depending on the circumstance, depending on the area which we are instructing learners, we need to be flexible so that we are more, we are able to align our strategies depending on the circumstances. Now we are looking at the teacher or the facilitator, the teacher as a facilitator and not a creator of knowledge, not somebody who has everything. The teacher should just be a facilitator and not an instructor. So when we look at these pedagogies in light of design for delight,
Dr. We can't hear you, Dr. Sitati. Dr. Wonder, are you able to hear Dr. Sitati? Please let her know we are not hearing her.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can proceed, please.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so we want to look at pedagogy in the context of delight for design. And delight for design is actually a very powerful tool that will enable us to reimagine how learning experiences can be crafted so that when we sit down to prepare our learning teaching tools, we are able to make them more enjoyable, we are able to make them meet the standards, we are able to make them, make the learners more curious to learn and be deeply engaged in the learning process. And therefore, designing learning environment that is more meaningful to the learners, that will empower the learners both emotionally, physically, intellectually, so that these learners can get the best out of the learning. Now, what are the features of delight for design pedagogies? Number one, it should be learner-centered pathways. Now here, students are assisted to co-create their learning goals and choose how they can demonstrate mastery of those goals that they have created. And here, you can expose them to various activities so that they feel they're part and parcel of the learning process, where they can create their knowledge through storytelling, they can participate in community activities, they can express themselves in an artistic way and feel that they are part and parcel of the learning. Number two, it should be culturally responsible content so that our content should not move away from our culture. We want to recognize that we have a rich culture, and so we want our content to be more culturally responsive. But again, as we do that, we also need to be very careful so that we only borrow the best practices. For example, we can have content in Kiswahili, and I think one of my colleagues who has a passion for Kiswahili, Dr. Kaka, would really love to see this. Once in a while, we are allowing students to communicate in Kiswahili so that we are able to enhance our national language. Number three, the emotional intelligent integration. This ensure you use reflective journaling, peer feedback, and social emotional check-in to build safe, affirming spaces for our learners. Now, these learners need to grow both physically, mentally, and even in their emotions. And so they need to build their emotional intelligence. We need to understand them. What is it that annoys them? What is it that makes them happy? So that as we prepare our materials, we are able to put that into consideration. Then we need to celebrate their mastery so that we are not grading these learners, but we are allowing them to exhibit their skills. They're able to showcase their learning, ensure that they're also able to make portfolios of what they have gone through in the teaching learning process. Now, when we talk about learner-centered pedagogy, we want to put our learners at the center front so that the learners are our center of interest. They'll construct their knowledge, they'll come up with strategies. They'll be able to guide on how they would want us to guide them or to instruct them. So they'll also come up with strategies through their peer teaching. When you put them in smaller groups, then they're able to decide what would be the best for them to understand the various concepts. Now, they'll also be able to look at, as an instructor, you'll also be able to look at what interests them. For example, you are going to class in the afternoon after they have had their lunch. What would make that teaching learning experience more interesting at that particular time? You can take them out for an exposure. Then what are now their previous experiences? Now, some of them have had very nasty experiences where when you try to bring up strategies that would remind them of the experiences, they feel discouraged. So we need to encourage autonomy, inquiry, and self-reflection so that these learners can also now sit in a corner and reflect on what experiences they have gone through. Now, the position of the teacher as a facilitator or a guide is not the sole source of knowledge. So as a teacher, you need to sit there and guide them. You don't need to be the sole creator of knowledge. Your purpose there is just to guide them in whatever activities they're going through, so that at the end of it all, they're able to acquire knowledge, they're able to acquire skills, values, and attitudes that would help them be better people in the society. Now, learner-centered pedagogy involves active learning. It also involves personalized pathways. It involves collaborative learning. And collaborative learning is very important because, one, these learners are able to learn from each other. There are those learners who have more skills in specific areas. And when they share with their peers, then it becomes more real and more realistic than when they're working on their own. It is also important that we expose them to the real world experience so that these learners can relate their own experiences to what we are helping them build as in terms of knowledge. We need to give them continuous feedback so that they're able to know the progress they're making instead of waiting to give them the final feedback at the end of the semester. So by the time the student is sitting for the final exam, they should have known that this is my position. I'm going to fail or I'm going to pass. And when we expose them to very
Dr. Ngasia, Sitati, Emily, we cannot hear you, and you have 5 minutes.
challenge the learner.
You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
Because thinking.
Daktari, we are a bit interrupted. Hello?
I don't know why Dr. Sitati keeps getting lost.
We are a bit interrupted because we were using a hall where students are coming to have a class and we have had to vacate.
Okay. Thank you.
So give them a few minutes to reorganize themselves.
She only had a few minutes.
Can you hear me?
Okay, continue. You have 5 minutes, Daktari, to complete.
All right, thank you. So let me just finalize by just highlighting some of these strategies that can be used to enhance students, learners, and at the same time, ensure they are delighted in their learning. The first one is problem-based learning. And now the many other strategies are all embedded in this problem-based learning. And that's why as a university, this is a very important strategy for us. Now in problem-based learning, I think I'll not overemphasize because we've done a lot on it. You tackle real life problems. So students are given a scenario problem, or they're allowed to identify a problem within their communities. And then after they have done that, they now start seeking solution to that problem. Now this is very important because it helps them develop critical thinking, creativity, and lifelong learning skills. And these are some of the core competencies that are emphasized in CBC. Now, inquiry-based learning is another strategy where learning is done through exploration. Now, students are able to explore their environment. They're curious to see what is happening. If I touch this, what will happen? If I manipulate this, what will happen? So this will help them discover a new knowledge. It will help them question some of the theories that we are talking about. It will help them now carry out research to find out why certain things are behaving the way they're behaving. For example, you can give them to investigate why we have the local, water sources in their villages contaminated, what makes them the water contaminated, and why are people still drinking the water that is contaminated, given that they have the knowledge of the contaminated water. Now, we also have project-based learning, where we are extending tasks with real impact. Students work on meaningful cross-disciplinary projects, and here you can allow them to do presentations, design challenges, and find solutions to this problem. So this one will cut across all disciplines. They can link the challenges in communication to challenges maybe in science, and then see how they can link those interdisciplinary challenges to come up with solutions. Then we have collaborative and inclusive pedagogies, where students are learning together. And to me, this is very, very important, because learners have mixed abilities. They are not the same. We have learners who are very good in specific areas of study, and others are not, are struggling. And therefore, when you put them into these groups, they are able to learn from each other. So mixed ability and grouping and differentiated instruction actually promotes learning, and learners will be able to enjoy their learning, because where they don't get it, they're able to get it from their peers. It also promotes equity and peer support. They tend to appreciate each other. They tend to feel that they're on the same level, because they're able to discuss same concepts at the same level. And so in conclusion, I want us to rethink teaching for purposes of ensuring that we are CBE compliant, but at the same time, making our learners delighted in the teaching learning process, enjoying what we are doing, feeling that I cannot miss this class because it's going to be more enjoyable. We are looking at the curriculum. What kind of curriculum are we going to offer? How do we shape this curriculum in such a way that it will make the learners more delighted? As teachers, we look at ourselves as co-creators of learning. We do not know it all. Sometimes you go to a class and you pose a question and you see the learners are even more knowledgeable than you. So we look at ourselves as co-creators. And therefore, as we look ahead to implement this curriculum, it is not a destination, it is a journey. And so we have to walk this journey. And by the time we reach there, we'll have understood what would be the best pedagogies for us to walk this journey, and what would we delight in to make our learners even appreciate that they have developed their competencies, they have acquired enough knowledge, and they can get into the world, they can get, wherever they want, and solve problems across the globe. So thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sitati Mungasia Emily. It's now my pleasure to invite Dr. Rogers Gowon Cherui to take us through our session of assessment. And remember our timing. Please join me in just thanking God and emojis, whatever the reactions you may want to give to appreciate our sister. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother Job. Just a minute, I share this. Thank you, my brother Joe, for this opportunity to be able to share together with us. Colleagues, I want to do about competence-based assessment, and it allows just to touch part of the what are projected there. I'm going to do a little bit of introduction to the assessment. What's a competence-based assessment? Look at types of assessment. That's authentic assessment, integrated assessment, differentiated assessment, how to develop quality assessment tools. And then how do we assess the core competences, the ones that have been mentioned by my sister, Dr. Sitati and Susan? And then what are these tools we use for assessment? And then the need for reporting learners' progress, and then talk about design for delight. The philosophy Daystar University has just embraced, and how it's affected to how is it related to competence-based assessment. When we talk about assessment, we talk about a purposeful and systematic continuous process of gathering information. Assessment just gathering information from multiple sources so that we can make decisions about what learners know, what they need to learn, what he has learned, and what he can do. And therefore, in assessment, we just get gathering information from various sources to find out whether our learners are learning, what do they know, what do they need to know, what have they learned, and what can they be able to do. And therefore, competence-based assessment then becomes a process of determining the capability of a learner to apply a set of related knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes which are required to successfully perform a task. We used to talk about knowledge, skills, and attitudes, but currently we are adding the word values. The KSVA, knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes. What is the learner able to recall? What is he able to do? What values has he or she acquired? And what are the attitudes towards the task that he or she is performing? We have different purpose of why we do assessment. One of them is to find prior competence of a learner. What do the learners know before we teach? And one of the things we are insisting in the CBS is that learners are not tabula rasa. Learners know something. And therefore, what are some of these competencies they know before a particular unit is being taught? Number two, we do assess so that we can able to identify the learning needs. What are the gaps in learning that we need to fill in the course of us teaching in the classroom? Number three, we are going to do assessment so that we can able to gather evidence on learners for appropriate intervention, such as differentiated learning. Sometimes you teach learners and you find they're scoring very low scores. And we are not going to allow learners just to move on with those scores like that. We are going to help them to do what? We're going to help them to bridge the gaps, what they know and what they don't know. Number four is to enhance learners' motivation and commitment to learning, and also monitor the progress of learners so that they're able to provide immediate feedback on teaching and the learning process. We're also going to inform parents on learner-specific educational needs so that they can able to support them. And that's why we are bringing in the issue of parental involvement. Whether in whatever level of education, learners have to be informed about the specific educational needs for the support for their children. Lastly, provide feedback on acquisition of competences to the learners, teachers, parents, guardians, and other stakeholders. Therefore, in CBE, what are we assessing? We are assessing competence. What are those competences? Competences in the knowledge, competences in the skills, competence in the attitudes, and competences in the values. The ones that have been mentioned, the 7 of them: critical thinking, communication, learning to learn, digital literacy. We assess them in the area of knowledge, in the area of skills, in the area of attitudes, and in the area of values. So when do we assess? There are 3 ways of assess. We assess learners. We assess learners before learning, we assess learners during learning, and we assess learners at the end of the teaching and learning, end of teaching and learning period. So types of assessment, we have 2 types of assessment. We can either have formative assessment and summative assessment. The formative assessment, we divide them into 2. We have assessment for learning, assessment as learning, and assessment of learning. Formative assessment has 2 assessments: assessment for learning and assessment as learning. And summative assessment has 1 form of assessment, which is about to assessment of learning. So what is assessment for learning? We use assessment for learning a process of gathering information so that we can be able to understand what learners know, so that we can be able to modify and improve our teaching learning process. We go to class and what do they know? And then we were able to bridge that gap of what they know. Assessment for learning, done before learning takes place. And then assessment as learning takes place as the learning continues. And assessment of learning is done by the end of the learning session. So before learning, we do assessment for learning. During learning, we do assessment as learning. And after teaching and learning has taken place, then we do assessment of learning. So we assess learners' progress and teaching strategies in relation to the curriculum outcomes before we start teaching the class. What do they know? What are the gaps that we need to fill in the classroom? And then during the lesson, we do what known as self and peer reflection of the learning experiences, assessment as learning. And then lastly, we have assessment of learning, where we assess when the learners have acquired the necessary competence at the end of the learning period. Let's talk about authentic assessment. In competence-based education, we have an assessment known as authentic assessment. An authentic assessment is a real-life task that is given to the learners to demonstrate the competences they have acquired. Real task learning to demonstrate learners' competence, what they have done. For example, a computer teacher, a science teacher teaches about installing a motherboard on a laptop. I'm installing a motherboard. Therefore, learners are given tasks. They are given motherboards and they're given computers to learn where to locate the motherboards and which motherboard fits which type of computer. A real-life task to demonstrate learners' acquisition of competence. And these tasks which are given to the learners are based on their day-to-day experiences. So one of the characteristics of the authentic assessment, learners demonstrate competences by applying what they have learned. What are they learned in the classroom and where are they applying outside there? Providing an opportunity for the teacher to assess the learner for real-time basis. It also stipulates the criteria and standards required to achieve reliability and validity. Provides an opportunity for the learners to construct new knowledge out of learning experience and focuses more on the process towards completing a given task. The second type of assessment we look at is assessment known as the integrated assessment. Now, in this assessment, we are drawing experiences from various learning areas. We are assessing learners' capability to apply knowledge and skills gained from one subject to another subject. Now, what is the importance of integrated assessment? Its importance is to help learners to see the connectiveness of knowledge. There's a knowledge which you learn in science that can be applied in music, that can be applied in mathematics. How is mathematics related to English languages, and then how is it related to music? So we are doing music plus mathematics plus languages. So we are doing an integrated assessment showing interconnectivity of knowledge, skills, and values and attitudes. This is aimed at solving a problem by creating new knowledge and products. And therefore, in this case, learners are taught to see a problem as whole. We don't see learning as isolated, but we see learning as a whole. Number 3, we have what is known as differentiated assessment. And this is an assessment which has been modified or adapted to meet the individual needs of a learner who has a diverse academic needs. Colleagues, we all understand that not all learners are the same. And therefore, we do modify assessment so that we can be able to meet the needs of the learners who have various academic needs. There's some learners who are very good. There are some learners who are very good in musical. Okay, there are some are very good in musical. Some are very good in art, in doing artistic work. So you set a task. according to the needs of the learner. The one who is musical, you set to him a task that can able to translate it in a musical way. The one who is good in art, you set a task in which is able to translate it in artistic way. This helps to achieve the target learning outcomes. Very, very important to understand the various differentiated type of assessment, especially talk about treating a learner as an individual instead of looking at them as a mass or a group of learners. It helps teacher learners to improve learning outcomes and informs teachers on tailoring instructional to fit learners' individual needs. And this is what we talk about the competence-based assessment. All of you are familiar with the pictures of different animals which you are told to run. Some are the fish and the fish and the bird and the hare were told to run. We can't give people the same people assessment to every person because people are different. And one of the way to take care of the learners' difference is by giving them what is referred to as differentiated assessment. ICT integration in CBA is very, very important. As part of the core competence, we do that in administering assessment. We do that to be able to score the assessment. In analyzing the results and reporting, we use ICT. It also facilitates the teachers in assessing learners' outcome and integrated in completing learners' tasks, such as portfolio and project-based assessment. One of the important aspects we do in development in competency-based assessment is we need to develop authentic assessment tools. And a good assessment must be valid, must be reliable, must be sufficient, must be authentic, must be practical. It must show fairness. It must be collaborative. It has to show accessibility and timely feedback to the learners. Timely feedback to the learners. And therefore, as teachers, as lecturers, we need to be able to develop the skill of becoming a good item writer, knowing the type of questions where we put a punctuation mark, whether it's a closed stem or an open stem as we write the tests. And therefore, developing a test, a skill for learning how to do testing is very, very important. And what will guide you in knowing what type of test are you going to give learners is by preparing a table which is referred to as the table of specification. And the tables of specification therefore becomes a tool used by teachers to design a test or an assessment tool. A teacher will look at the type of competences, type of cognitive ability that he wants learners to be able to acquire. And then it's able to give them the number of the marks depending on the learner, cognitive ability, and the topic or the unit which he has taught. Therefore, how many marks is he going to give in unit number 1? And which competence is he measuring? Which competence is he measuring? Therefore, you have to look at the coverage of the task. How much have you covered? What is the standard for each strand? Or how many hours have you taken to teach that content? And therefore, type of test you want to do for that class and for that class. We have different types of question test. We have the written test, multiple choice quest, alternative response, matching type, completion type, essay quizzes, performance test, and short-term test. I need to go through that. One of the important aspects of competence-based assessment is to learn how to assess the core competences and the core values in the classroom setting. We need to know how do we assess the competences in the classroom. How do we assess the values in the classroom? Colleagues, in any classroom, you are teaching in a competence-based education. Remember the 7 core competences. Remember the 7 core competences. Very, very important. And here I was giving, we have, if you are teaching and you're giving a task of watching a video. Number 1, what can you do? In watching the video, you can assess a competence of communication and collaboration. Communication and collaboration. Are they able to talk to one another as they watch the video? And are they able to respond to your question as they watch the video? Are they able to operate the video? Digital literacy. Are they able to do the things on their own? Self-efficacy. And then you have citizenship, critical thinking and problem solving. All these aspects have to be taken care of in the lesson, and you have to assess them. So we have quite a number of tools we use to assess competence-based education. One of them is the questionnaires. We use that. Observation schedules, we use that. We do written tests, we do learners profile, rating scales, oral or oral questioning, anecdotal records, journals, projects, rubrics, portfolio, checklist. Those are the competence-based assessment tools we use in assessing our learners. And each of us as colleagues, we need to pick the ones which are speaking to our lesson. And therefore, in the course of a semester, you can choose to use questionnaires. You can choose to do a checklist, do a portfolio, use a rubric, a project, make them keep journals. Okay, anecdotal records. What are the significant milestones for a learner? Your learners are learning how to play, play wind instrument, a music lesson. Okay, learner A was not able to play a musical instrument, the wind instrument, the saxophone for a whole semester, but towards the end of the semester, he plays it. Is able to identify the keys. That becomes an anecdotal event for that student, and is able to record that on this day I was able to figure out the keys for a saxophone. Talk about the oral and oral questioning, the rating scales, learner's profile, building the profile of the learner from first year to fourth year. And the most common one we use is a written test. And also talk about observation schedules. How are they doing their work? In a biology lesson, how are they doing the dissection? Use a questionnaire as a way of assessing tools. So these tools are available for us, for us to be able to use in a competence-based education setup. I will not be able to go through that, but because I've mentioned some of them, allow me to go to what is known as assessment rubrics. This is what we mainly use. Okay, one of the tools we use in competence-based education. Assessment tools used to interpret and assess learners' performance in a task. Because learners are doing tasks, we need to assess those tasks. And one of the best way to assess those tasks is by use of the assessment rubric, where we have the criteria, the descriptors, and the performance level. The teacher needs to identify the criterion. What do you want learners to do? Identify and categorize plans. And therefore, how do you know this learners has been able to do that? We put the level of performance into 4. We have exceeding expectation, meeting expectation, approaching expectation, and below expectation. If a student has done more than you expected, more than you had asked, you ask them to draw the diagram of a saxophone, but he has drawn the saxophone and he has gone as far as drawing the violin. He has exceeded expectation. Meeting expectation is where he draws the saxophone the way he has been told. Approaching is where he draws a half of the saxophone. Below expectation, he has not even started drawing the saxophone. So you are able to categorize learners' level of a performance into 4. Either below expectation, approaching expectation, meeting expectation, and exceeding expectation. And each one of those levels has a mark. Below expectation has a 1 mark, approaching has 2 marks, meeting has 3 marks, and 4 has the 4th level has 4 marks. And therefore, it's you as a lecturer be able to give the description. How do you know he has exceeded expectation when he does that? How do you know they are meeting expectation when they do this? How do you know they are approaching expectation when you do this? And when do you know they are below expectation when they do this? It is your responsibility as a teacher to be able to describe the level of performance that you need to see in the learners, level of performance that you want to see in the learners. 2 types of rubrics. We have analytical rubrics, which breaks down content or task being assessed into parts, and each part is assessed separately. You're breaking down a content or breaking down a task being assessed into parts, and each part is assessed differently. And then number 2, we have one known as holistic rubric, where you assess the overall performance of a task as a single entity, and therefore the scores, you score the overall competence of the learner. What is he able to do in general? But in the analytical one, what are they able to do from one stage to another stage? Let me move.
Yeah, your time was.
How many minutes? Can you give me 3?
That's okay. That's fine.
It's very important to report learners' progress, and all of us we know the importance of doing that. Why are we reporting? We are communicating the knowledge and understanding that is gained from the assessing the learners. We are communicating the knowledge and understanding gained from the assessing the learners. And why are you doing this? So that we're able to provide relevant information about learners' progress to the parents, to the learner himself, to teachers, and other stakeholders. And therefore, it's very important once you assess the learners, you must report the progress of the learners. We are saying this: what have we assessed them, and what are they doing? Therefore, how does this speak to our D4D? Designed for delight, the philosophy we are currently putting on in Daystar University. The D4D is an innovative philosophy and a set of principles which originated from a financial software company known as Intuit that aim to create user experience beyond mere functionality, but to evoke joy and create emotional connection. That people have to feel good. They have to feel good. We are creating an experience that learners will feel good, connecting to their emotions. Okay, and this company developed it as a part of its growth strategy to foster innovation. And then by this, it has since been adopted and taught as a core innovative methodology by other organizations. Therefore, in relation to CBE, D4D then becomes a human-centered innovation approach, which focuses on three main principles: deep customer empathy. Are we able to understand our learners? Are we able to understand our learners even as we assess them? Are we able to assess our learners? Are we able to go broad and to go narrow, brainstorming widely, then narrowing down to the best solution or the best experiences? Most of us agree that learners fear exams. How can we make our exam system to be very enjoyable to our learners? And then rapid experiments are done with customers to test ideas quickly, learning from feedback and iterating them. So in this case, we are understanding our learners as people. We see their goals, we see their aspiration, we see their challenges, and we see their context. And how do we infuse this in our assessment? By co-creating assessment tasks with the students, ensuring that the tasks are authentic, discipline-related, and motivating. We use real-world projects that connect to students' future professions. This makes them enjoy. We are able to connect to them. If somebody loves football, can we be able to bring a real world project that connects to what they want to aspire in the future? And I'll give an example in a law program. Instead of giving oral written exams, you give learners to participate in a mock trial that simulates real court cases, aligning assessment with what professional realities. Number two, you go broad to go narrow in assessment method. What's the principle here? Exploring multiple ways to measure the mastery of the content. Then we narrow down to the one that best fit to the situation we are in. We then brainstorm diverse assessment forms, the portfolios, the capstone assessment, case studies, okay, reflective journals, peer assessment simulation, and then pick the one which is so suitable in terms of authenticity, feasibility, and alignment with the learning outcomes. Number three, we do a rapid experimentation with assessment to find whether the assessment is giving us the feedback that we need. And how do we do this? We pilot the new ways of doing it. We pilot the new program. We pilot the new assessment. Okay, allow learners to submit their draft, prototypes, and practice runs for feedback. This builds space for reflection and resubmission, mastery through interaction, not one-off performance. Then we do assessment of the rubrics in D4D spirit. And therefore, rubrics should not just grade, but should also guide learners' growth. It should guide learners' growth. Whatever we are giving assessment to learners, we are not just using it for grading them, but to be able to measure how learners are growing in their areas of learning. Finally, I've given an example. Like for example, when you're doing a master's in education leadership and policy studies, the competence we want to do there is for the learners to be able to design an evidence-based educational policy. And therefore, using for D4D format, what do? We show deep sympathy. Learners interview school heads, teachers, policymakers to understand the challenges that they are facing in implementation of particular policies. And then we go narrow, from broad to narrow. Learners then reinforce multiple policy intervention, narrowing to one feasible solution. And then we do a rapid experiment. They draft a short policy brief, present to the peers for critique, revise, and submit. Lastly, they assess the rubric, including the criteria for stakeholder sympathy, creativity of solution, clarity of policy proposal, and evidence of interaction. Colleagues, by doing this, we are able to infuse D2D into the competence-based assessment, which is a very important aspect in the competence-based education. And allow me to stop there because of time. Thank you very much, Namaya and colleagues, for listening to me.
Hey, Dr. Thank you so much. I really, really want to appreciate you. I know you have hurried, But this gives an opportunity for the rest of us just to be able to connect with what is happening around this space and excites us to be able to connect at a bigger level. So thank you. And thank you all my colleagues. You have done a good job and we appreciate. Before Dr. Wainaina takes over to receive comments or questions, I already see Pastor Fred has already made a comment, and it's a very lovely one. I would want us to make a comment around that. I don't know whether our Dean has some final comments before I invite Dr. Wainaina to moderate that session. Or will he want to do it at the tail end? You are muted, so we are not hearing. I'm seeing the mouth, but I'm not hearing anything, Dean.
Maybe we can have some, remove the slides, and then I can spotlight you, all of you, for question and answer.
He's self-revived? Oh, I am. Wait, we're gonna perfectly hit day 99. That's cool. Or campfires out of fuel. You can't see the map. Campfires out of fuel, bro.
And stop sharing.
So, Dean, were you talking? We can't hear you. You are muted, Dean. You are just laughing alone. Dr. Yuya, is there a way you can make our Dean talk to us? He's talking to himself.
Right. No, I think, okay, and I can unmute him. But I would have requested the School of Education. You can have your video on. I spotlight all of you so that questions are directed to you, all of you.
We had wanted him to make a comment if he needed first, and then we can entertain questions, but that's fine. Please, all the members of the school, can we do that, please?
Dean, you can remove and mute. It's still mute. Dean, you are still I've asked you to unmute.
You unmute, Professor Dr. Moni Wekesa, unmute yourself.
No, maybe he may be in a place that is having some interaction, so just give him some time. Just enjoy seeing his face.
Fred is saying, Prof, that is the reverse learning. It must be demonstrating.
Yeah, sorry, I was multitasking with some PhD students from Embu University. Very well.
Dean, did you have any comment to make before we enter into a session of questions?
Oh, the only comment I want to make is that I enjoyed the presentations. The presenters were spot on. And I'm happy that the participants were equally many. At one point, I counted 56. I think we are on course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So allow me therefore to invite Dr. Wainaina Isabella, if you could guide us and just receive questions.
Okay, sorry, before Dr. Isabella comes in, allow me to respond on the comment of Dr. Ogore about the reverse teaching. And I've mentioned it in the chat that actually the main model of curriculum model of teaching CBC is what we call the backward curriculum model. The backward curriculum model is where you actually start from the back. That's why it is called backward. You start at the end product, you come towards the beginning. So I just wanted to refer him to the backward model. Maybe as we continue doing some in-depth trainings on CBE, we will be identifying some of these models and seeing how do we actualize them in the teaching. But yes, Dr. Ogole, you can start from the end, coming to the beginning. And that is why we also have the reversal of the Bloom's taxonomy. Then you realize that a number of things to do with CBE are actually very reversed. Thank you so much. You can refer to the backward model. Asante.
So can we move on to the question and answer session?
Please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Namai. I think the presentations were very well articulated. We have been able to get a lot of insight from them. As we come to the question and answer session, probably I would take an approach where we can use both the verbal, we ask questions, and we can also write our questions and comments on the chat. I don't know how much time we have, Dr. Namai.
We have 15 minutes to do that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we have our presentation, which has been presented based on 3 main areas. Dr. Namai gave us the overview, and then we had Dr. Sitati and Dr. Wandera. They took us through the pedagogies, pedagogy 1 and 2, where we were able to go through the different theories and approaches. And then finally, Dr. Rogers has very well taken us through the assessments. I believe that as we talk about CBE, we are all aware that it is supposed to be learner-centered and not teacher-centered. And therefore, for our presenters, I believe the learners will now come in here to ask questions which will give us more insight on what you have been presenting. Welcome. Kindly post your questions. Carry up your hand if you have a question.
Doctor, you can also read on the chats. There are some comments which will be great to work with.
Yeah, I can see what is there. We have seen that the first one has been addressed by Dr. Wandera. The second one, today's learners are largely detached from their cultures. How do we make learning relevant to the learners, especially in the Kenyan learning context, which is culturally diverse? I would really wish that we also state whom we are directing the question to make the presenters organize themselves to respond. So the 3 of you, one of you can take up that one.
Yeah, I think we can all be able to respond because this is a general question. And thank you so much, Bwana Peter Masindano. The truth is that they are detached from the culture, and we are all responsible. Parents are responsible, teachers are responsible, but they're also coming from diverse cultural backgrounds. And yes, we have the African context, but even within the African context, we have different cultural backgrounds. So how do we make the learning relevant to the learners, especially in the Kenyan learning context? And that is now where the teacher preparation becomes important, so that even as you draw your experiences and your examples, I think one of the comments that I've had, and it's a good one, is that even as we do our clips, are we in the context? Or are we using Europeans? And it's a very good comment. So as teachers, therefore, as we engage the learners in the classrooms, what examples are we giving? When you talk about innovativeness and entrepreneurship, do you want to talk about Bill Gates, or you want to talk about Mwangi or somebody within the African context? But also, as we talked about the guiding principles of the CBE, as parents, and as we engage even with parents, are we also encouraging them on the same front? Because like Peter, you may be here, you've had your children here, but they cannot connect with the village. My dean was challenging me that even his son, when he comes, he doesn't live here, but when he comes, the first thing, he wants to go to the village. How many of us are able to do this, to say the same of our children? And so this is a complex issue. Yes, we need to remain relevant to our cultural backgrounds, We are coming from different cultural backgrounds. What my HOD, Dr. Susan Wandera, would be able to propagate it's not the same as what Namai would be able to propagate in as far as the cultural background is concerned. For her, she sees I'm wasting money making a big funeral. But for me, I feel that is what I should be able to do. And we must also to acknowledge that these changes are here with us, and we need to see how to inculcate, to pick what is right, and also to discard what doesn't make sense. I don't know, maybe one of us could be able to make some more clarification.
Maybe to reinforce maybe on what Dr. Namai has said, I want to say that when you look at the competences for CBE, the competency-based education, one of the competences is global citizenship. We are focusing on ensuring that our learners have a global context. That is why we have citizenship as one of the competencies. And that's the beauty about the CBE. Because when you look at the skills that the content is supposed to bring up in a learner, then we have a very global mind. So we are delocalizing the mind. I know this is very debatable, that we are celebrating our diversity without narrowing down the learners to a very localized context. When we are training teachers, we are not just training the teachers for the Kenyan market. We are not training engineers for the Kenyan market. So the issue of the cultural diversity is enriched in the curriculum by focusing on on a global picture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wandera and Dr. Namai, for your response. I think Dr. Wandera is trying to bring the idea of diversity in unity and globalization, which we really do appreciate. I can see somebody there has commented saying, thanks colleagues for comprehensive presentations. However, time was not on your side. We hope you will share the PowerPoint presentations for our revision. I believe the presenters have taken note of that. We have another one. We now have AI models, tools that are able to personalize content, set assessments, contextualize, and personalize content to detect learner engagement levels, especially on modern learning. We need to think AI and pedagogy. Any response on AI and pedagogy? Dr. Cherui, can you respond to that?
Yeah. Before Dr. Chedwi comes, maybe allow me to say a statement. Yeah, thank you so much, Ogode, for bringing the issue of AI. And I want to say this in context with even the Commission for University Education. There was a seminar in Naivasha last week, and it was actually focusing on integrating AI in competency-based education. And when we looked at various models of how can we leverage on the use of AI in our instructional models, in our content delivery. And so it is a very current and very interesting space we are in. The first meeting was in Naivasha 2 weeks ago, referencing AI in CBE. And therefore, I believe that even as we navigate this space of AI and CBE, there's going to be a framework. Again, I know there's a very controversial way of putting it because AI is another very webbed up or warped up, dynamic, fast-moving thing. But yeah, leveraging AI in CBE in terms of competences is already something that is being discussed at university levels. Even us as a department, we are trying to see how can we leverage on AI in our content, our everything that pertains to the delivery of education. And yeah, thank you so much, Ogole, for that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Susan. I think that is an area which we may need to have more time to engage with. However, we really appreciate your input. Members, let's continue having more questions. I can see down there model, backward model, method, fleet, classroom. Don't know if it is a question or a comment.
No. Let's proceed. Let's entertain
Maybe
questions.
I can say something about the issue of culture. The 21st century teacher has to be a very dynamic teacher, a teacher who thinks on the feet, a pragmatic teacher, whatever works. That's why I like what Ogora is trying to say. Bring AI. If AI does not work, go to the traditional AI we are using in the traditional method, whatever we are going to do, so long as learners are able to get concepts in the classroom. And as a teacher, when you give examples in the classroom, you give learners to give their cultural perspective. We just need to be deliberate in our teaching. And I say, as a dynamic teacher, just become very deliberate in infusion of the culture inside the classroom. Get the various perspective from various groups of individuals. How are they viewing? How do they view a particular aspect? How do people from Central view it? How do those from Northeastern view it? How those from Western view it? It becomes very, it's not able to appreciate culture. And that's one of the goals of education. And therefore, a teacher needs to become very dynamic. Even in the issue of AI and pedagogy, we are talking, people have always feared AI will replace teaching, but I see AI as a calculator. AI is just a tool that can help us to ease and work for us. Therefore, as a teacher, as a dynamic teacher, a pragmatic teacher, how are you be able to use the resources you are having to bring the content in the classroom into life? We talk about integrated teaching, integrated assessment. A teacher who becomes knowledgeable in various subject areas. How is he able to bring learning to become live in the classroom? That's the teacher we're talking about. Not only one who was focused on one way of thinking, but who has a broad mind and is able to use whatever comes on his way to bring the point he's teaching home inside the classroom. Thank you very much, Dr. Isabel.
Okay, thank you very much. I think I can summarize what Dr. Cherui has said in 3 words, that the 21st century teacher is supposed to be dynamic, and also the AI is supposed to be an enabler, not to replace the teacher. And therefore, he has concluded by saying the 21st century teacher has to be very dynamic. In Kiswahili, we say, mwalimu hakuna kulala. Okay, let's move on. More questions, comments? We also welcome comments. Okay, as we wait for people to think and come up with more questions and comments, probably Dr. Wandera, I would ask you to give more insight on this one. You've talked about scaffolding, where we are supposed to break our content into manageable portions. Now, I'm wondering about the students, the 21st century learner. This is a learner who is living at an era of information explosion, such that even as you do this breakdown, this student already has got too much information. Some of them may even have browsed and even gone ahead and gone beyond the teacher. I don't know what you can say about that.
Yeah, the role of the teacher in 21st century learning is actually a role that the teacher has to understand, and we must be in the space of knowing that we are facilitators. The question is, what is the relevant knowledge? I know this is another controversial because we all have our areas of specialization and what we teach. What do you want learners to do? Because you have your guide. So that even in the knowledge explosion, the students are not on that fishing expedition, that they are just fishing the knowledge that they feel is good in quotes for them. But you as a facilitator, you know what is in this particular unit that I am supposed to cover. And that is why with that guide and with our design to delight and with the proper instructional method approaches, we are able to be in control, so that whatever information they are supposed to have, that is what now you guide and you facilitate in breaking down. It is not open space, because our learning is not totally open space. If I am teaching curriculum planning and development, I have to be in control of what are the models am I supposed to teach? How much do the learners know? How much can I break down? So that control, that's the essence of the facilitator. And I hope I am clear. Thank you so much. And all of us know we understand.
Our time
Okay.
is spent, Dr. Wainaina. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I can see we are now time bound. However, allow me to appreciate the participants for the questions and the remarks they have made. We have two that need to be responded to. One is one does not require response. Somebody said very enriching sessions of today. But then the second one, there was a request that you share the slides with the participants. Will you share? Over to Dr. Namai.
That would be our pleasure, but the only challenge is that, okay, I think we can get your emails from the registration details. We'll be able to get them. I was saying that the only challenge is that we don't have your details, but we can be able to access them.
Dr. Namai, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Wainaina. Thank you, our HOD, Dr. Susan Wandera, Dr. Cherui, and Dr. Sitati. Thank you very much, our Dean, Professor Dr. Moni Wekesa. His phone has gone down on power, and so it becomes hard for him to follow through. Thank you very much, all of our participants. I think we look forward to a physical engagement where we will be able to show you more of what the school is all about in as far as the methodologies are concerned. But we really appreciate your patience, and feel free to connect with us any other time on the streets. We are now seated, I don't know if all of us know where the School of Law was, the LR place. That is where we are seated. But I cannot end without thanking our dear sister, Dr. Carol Ayuya Mwaka. She looks like a white now. Are you able to say hi before I just pray and then we complete this session?
No, lovely hosting you guys. Thank you so much for this afternoon facilitation. I think this is where we need to start going. We need to look at how everybody, technology integration, especially with AI in our teaching, in our pedagogy. And I think this is just the beginning of a series of engagements. And I think D4D is here and he's looking towards how we are utilizing the word D4D in the presentations. So I hope that we've been delighted, all of us, and we are going to learn. Personally, I am a teacher by profession, and of course, a mental health professionalist, but I have really picked up so much information and knowledge from this. So I hope to see you again and have a lovely evening. And I'm glad that I did host you. And hopefully we can meet all the facilitators and everybody in the research around this AI pedagogy teaching. And let's do a lot of research so that we can bring in class and integrate this even as we delight and design for delight for our customers or our class. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dr. Mwaka. Lakini chai tu ndio hujapeana, but it's okay.
It's morning here. It's morning here.
And now, colleagues, may the Lord bless you and may the Lord keep you. May the Lord watch over your going out and your coming in. May whatsoever you stretch your hands to do prosper. May he make his face to shine towards you, and may he give you peace. In the name of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Amen. And amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.